Look in my eyes. What do you see? We're the cult of personality. All right, Romeo, you can hit the final countdown. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do.
Welcome everybody watching on the True Heel Heat Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube channel. This is the Romeo Report number 9, CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, all elite? Man, oh man, does it feel too sweet to be all elite? I am Romeo Anthony Colon, the pride of NY, the connoisseur of all reporting. And joining me to break all of this down, we're going to talk about the news. We're going to do dream matches. We're going to talk about WWE's reaction to all this, if any. Joining me, it is he, our captain, the true heel phenom, SP3. Thank you for joining me.
What a day yesterday was. Crazy amount of news to break down. So I made the request. I made the call. As like you said, I like to say captain. I don't, Christy calls me boss. You sometimes call me boss. I like to say captain of the True Heel Heat team, the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. I was like, I got to call the connoisseur of reporting to break it all down, to talk about everything that went down yesterday, starting, in the afternoon with the news breaking of CM Punk in talks to return to professional wrestling. And then right before AEW Dynamite, almost as big, just as big of news, Bryan Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan, 100% locked was the exact quote. 100% locked in, signed with AEW. We got a couple of people in the live chat. So as always, like this video, share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. Of course, if you are new to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified. We're closing in on 1.5K. That's our next milestone that we want to hit. So you guys sharing this video, you guys subscribing always helps us out. And of course, we love to make these live streams interactive. So if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, put your comments, put your thoughts on this news in the live chat.
Yes!
We won't be able to go to all of your comments. So to guarantee we highlight your comments, your take on this huge news, probably the biggest wrestling news story of 2021, you can send us a super chat, $1 or more. We will highlight your comment. We will talk about it. We will debate it. So help us out. It definitely helps the channel. It helps us do more live streams, more videos, helps us, all your donations help Romeo get a computer. And now he's not frozen in time. He's able to join me on these live streams. So help out the channel some more with the super chat. We definitely appreciate it. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, drop us a heart, a like, a smile emoji, whatever type of emotions this news gives you. Let us know with those engagements. So yeah, Romeo, you are the connoisseur of reporting. Take it away. Let's start with CM Punk, sir.
Yes, give us those emoji reactions. We know there's a wide variety of emotions that some of you may feel towards this. And SP3, just piggybacking on what you said, you had the Daniel Bryan news breaking right with AEW Dynamite going on, and then Dynamite goes ahead and has news items of their own. It's a crazy day in wrestling news.
You got MD fucking K, Nick Gage, showing up on AEW within the first 15 minutes. First 15 minutes of Dynamite, the GCW World Champion shows up days before he's about to murder Matt Cardona, and they announced that next week he will attempt to murder Le Champion, the Painmaker, Chris Jericho. What a life, what a time we are living in professional wrestling. Before we get into the CM Punk, Daniel Bryan news, like you said, AEW Dynamite was newsworthy. A programming note, we're going to have AE recap drop on Sunday. Me and the guys are going to record it. It's going to drop on Sunday, but we will be back with AE Ramble, our live review of AEW Dynamite for next week's Fight for the Fallen. So we want to let you guys know we're going to break down Dynamite. I know a lot of people are excited about what happened on AEW Dynamite, but we got to get to this big, huge news. One guy returning to wrestling after 7 years. One guy that was in the main event of WrestleMania. It seems like it's confirmed that he's coming to AEW, and he might show up at the largest attended event by a non-WWE show since 1999. It's a crazy time to be a professional wrestling fan. So we always love all the professional wrestling fans. So let us know your thoughts in the live chat here. We got contrasting viewpoints all around already. You got Rambling Rambo saying something positive for once. He says if they have signed Danielson, this is the best signing to date they have done, and that includes Jericho and Kenny. This is a step up in class for sure. But of course, Rambling Rambo has to give us some negativity. And he says, however, I don't agree with these fools suggesting AEW will now book Bryan better. That's the most stupidest crap ever. And those same people that see this as a big signing like me, ask yourselves, why? We got Frantic World always supporting the channel, saying, hey, True Hill Heat and chat. And he says, I can't wait to see Nick Gage next week on Dynamite. We got the Negro Buck, Nick Jackson, saying, if I hear the final countdown while watching AEW, I might just have a heart attack. And we know Tony Khan likes to put up those con coins to get those licensed materials. So he's got two big checks to sign, Romeo. Final countdown, Cult of Personality.
Worth it.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. But like I said, Romeo, let's start off with CM Punk. 7 years away from professional wrestling. He hasn't been seen in a professional wrestling ring since 2014. The Royal Rumble 2014 was his last appearance. Of course, he had a huge falling out with WWE. He had the podcast that same year in November with Colt Cabana, where he talked about all his grievances with WWE, the fact that they sent him his release papers on his wedding in June. The way they false diagnosed his Mercer infection. But let us know what the news was, and we got to thank for this news one of my good friends, one of the best people when it comes to breaking wrestling news around. The nickname Millennial Meltzer I stole from Kevin Kellum over at Sportskeeda Wrestling, and it's very correct because whenever you hear breaking news in professional wrestling, the one name that you hear attached from it nowadays is Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Wrestling. So Romeo, what did SRS report yesterday?
Yes, they reported at Fightful Select CM Punk has been in talks for a potential return to the ring. Now, piggybacking off of that, WWE higher-ups believed that he would be heading to one All Elite Wrestling. And when I first heard this, it was a bit fishy to me because I was like, AEW doesn't leak these kind of things. They keep everything tight-knit, smaller company. They want their surprises to be surprises. And this led me to believe that CM Punk himself leaked this, or someone from his camp, to create a bidding war, an interest for his services, a common negotiating ploy and tactic, a smart one. And let's just talk about it. If this was leaked on purpose, I wonder sometimes if CM Punk just wants to be loved and wanted by WWE, if he still wants his WrestleMania main event. You know, he was hired on Backstage. Fox Sports made the hire. WWE approved it, where he was talking WWE. But after that was done, WWE never made an effort to bring him back in, not that we know of.
Nope.
And for the record, I did reach out to CM Punk personally. Mr. Punk, did you care to comment on the recent report? But no, he hasn't tweeted me. He hasn't tweeted anybody. No denial, nothing.
Very, very interesting. I know a lot of people say, we've heard before CM Punk reports about him possibly making a return to professional wrestling, even with AEW. A lot of people speculated that he would show up at All Out 2019 because he had the sit down interview with Mike Johnson of PW Insider at Starcast. I actually went to that sit down interview, which was great. It was engaging and it was definitely worth the price of admission. And Punk kind of nonchalantly in interviews kind of said that AEW only contacted him by text, like, would you be interested in coming to AEW? While Cody then refuted those claims and said that no, there was actually serious talks about him coming to AEW, but if he wants to play it off like
it's
that,
like CM Punk looked at the text and was like, they didn't even write out the word two. They just put the number two.
you know how wrestlers hate that. Wrestlers do not like you when you're supposed to put TOO and you put the number 2. That's disrespectful, and you might have a family heirloom stolen if you do something like that, or your bicycle broken up. So, we've heard reports like this in the past, but this feels like the first time that it's actually tangible. And it feels like it is something that might be true because, like I said, SRS, Sean Ross Sapp, is one of the most reliable voices in wrestling media today. Whether you have a subscription to Fightful Select, which is worth the price of admission, $5 a month, and you get breaking news like this that just totally flips on its head the wrestling world, and you see so much engagement to different things in the wrestling media. I know my good friends over at Sportskeeda Wrestling, they had a huge stream, over like almost 20K people watching their stream when the news broke, and they were reporting about it. Over on Wrestling Daily, we had one of our highest viewed programs yet. Right now we got about 20 or so people watching us on True Hill Heat across all the different platforms. So people are engaged and want to know if there's even any credence to this. This is the first time that it feels like it's tangible. It feels like something that can happen because AEW has an influx of income that they didn't have in 2019. They just signed their deal with TNT, and it was a low rent deal. It was to kind of see what they could do in that slot, but they won the ratings war. They beat NXT, ran them off of Wednesday nights. They signed a new deal at the beginning of 2020, which got them $43 million in that year, and now they're liable to get more money this year. So it feels very tangible. And Dave Meltzer has been reporting for a couple of weeks now that AEW has something big in the works, something huge in the works. And he confirmed last night on Wrestling Observer Radio that there is some credence, and he confirmed that there have been ongoing talks between AEW and CM Punk. So when you have Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Meltzer, one of the more trusted, long tenured voices in wrestling media, saying this thing, it is something that is, I won't say confirmed, I won't say it's going to happen, but it is more likely than it's ever been before. We got a couple of people here in the live chat. Over on Twitter, we got mstein_4 saying, what percentage chance do you think it is that a CM Punk return actually happens? I will ask the connoisseur of reporting himself. Romeo, what percentage are you putting on CM Punk returning to professional wrestling?
60 yes, 40 no.
60 yes, 40 no. So it is over the 50% threshold. So we got that there. We got Rachel Cornell saying, hi, Romeo and SP3. Missed you yesterday, SP3. I apologize for anyone who's coming over from Powered 4 TV. Powered 4 SP3 got preempted yesterday. It was technical difficulties we had to deal with, but we're giving you a special live stream today, Rachel. So I'm glad you're here with us to join us and talk about this huge breaking news. She asks, is it true Bryan and Punk It seems very true. We're just talking about CM Punk now. We're going to get into Daniel Bryan, aka Bryan Danielson, in a bit. Negro Bucks, Nick Jackson says, I'm really skeptical about Punk coming back. Don't know that he can shake off that ring rust. And I don't know if that passion for wrestling is still there. What is your feelings on CM Punk being able to shake off 7 years of ring rust if he potentially comes back, Romeo?
I think it can be done. I think it's possible. I think he can work himself up, but I don't know if he's going to be the CM Punk of old, but he can still wrestle a style that is very, that passable, entertaining, that he can get by. CM Punk, he can also talk anybody into the building. That
Exactly.
helps him no matter what. That's my opinion.
That's my number one thing when it comes to people being skeptical of CM Punk returning in the ring, regardless of how he's going to be in the ring. And trust me, I'm like Romeo. I don't think he's going to be the CM Punk of 2011. I don't think he's going to be the CM Punk of 2012. I don't think he's going to be the CM Punk of if he would have returned in 2015. That's years, that's 7 years of him not being in the ring. That's a lot to overcome. But the one thing he can do is he can cut one hell of a promo. He's one of the greatest promo guys, the guys on the microphone workers of all time. So that doesn't go away. And what I saw at the StarCast in 2019 is that he still has the ability to talk anyone in a building. Negro Buck also says, and people will make the argument that Edge came back after 10 years. And my reply is to that is that Edge never lost his love for the business. Wow. That is quite a statement, and it kind of stands true that CM Punk lost a lot of love for the business, because if he still retained that love, he probably would have went to like a Ring of Honor or a New Japan. He would have got some other outlets to still maintain in the business.
That is a fair critique and question. You wonder what CM Punk's passion is for the business, or is he just, hurting for money? And this is a great way to get some of that money back.
And you can make the argument that he probably is hurting for money because of some of the stuff that he has done in the past. The UFC stint, which didn't go that well. He's done written a couple of comics for Marvel. He's done I think MMA commentary. He's also done, of course, the WWE backstage as an analyst for Fox Sports, which changed the culture. It blew up the internet and all that stuff, and didn't last too long and didn't really affect ratings too much as well. Nick Jackson says, interesting note from Meltzer. I remember last night on Dynamite, they said Tony Khan has a big announcement for Fight for the Fallen next week. Yeah, he's supposed to announce a huge live event. I'm not too sure of that. Me and the fellas, Jimmy Macaram and Marcus Cash, will definitely talk about that on AE Recap this week. Ron Williams, I think this is towards you, Romeo. He says, how does that ash taste?
Oh, come on. I've read this on Rated Raw Superstars. You don't got to bring that over here to the Romeo Report, damn it.
Oh, man. Honest Beyond Reasonable saying, I get Bryan, but Punk has said so many times that this wrestling age is awful. Why would he come back? Well, lately in interviews, he said that he is more interested than he's ever been before, and a lot of that is down to AEW. He's been interested in a matchup with Kenny Omega since Kenny Omega's time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's plenty of stars in AEW that are alluring to him, like an MJF who's been a fan of him. The picture has been circulating on Twitter. What a promo battle that would be. Romeo, since we're on CM Punk right now, who would be me and Alex did this last night on Wrestling Daily. Who would be your top? We did 2, but who would be your top 3 dream matches for CM Punk in AEW?
Number 1 for me, just for the promos itself, the match is just the cherry on top, would be MJF. Oh my goodness. I cannot imagine the amount of trash talk MJF can unleash on CM Punk just for his years away from the business. Oh, it's going to be great if it happens. Number 2 would be CM Punk, the heel, the straight edge heel versus the drinking champion, Hangman Page. Look how nice that. Oh, look how.
Oh, it looks so beautiful. It looks
It's
so
coming.
beautiful.
It's coming.
That would work. That would be, a little shades of the Jeff Hardy CM Punk rivalry, or CM Punk versus Raven. That is one I didn't mention. I did an article on this. That's why I won't give my 3. And like I said, I did Wrestling Daily last night. You could check that out to hear my 2 that I picked on Wrestling Daily, or check out my article on Sportskeeda Wrestling, my 5 CM Punk dream matches in AEW. I missed out on Hangman Page. I didn't think about him until after my article was already published, but that one just makes too much sense. The millennial cowboy, the drunk, depressed cowboy who was down on his luck, now becoming a success, the AEW World Champion, and then the heel, straight edge, Second City Saint coming in his way and being an obstacle. What a feud that would be for sure. And who was your third, Romeo?
For the third, I'm going to also go on another path. I'm going to open the forbidden door.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to open the forbidden door. Now, New Japan, working a relationship with AEW. We saw what happened last night. And this is a little outside the box, maybe. But, Kent.
The battle of Go to Sleep.
Yeah.
Finally, it will happen. And Kenta can get revenge on CM Punk stealing his move, and people thinking that CM Punk invented the Go to Sleep all these years. Kenta can finally get revenge. I like all 3 of those. I would say the Hangman CM Punk is my favorite. I definitely thought of MJF. Alex McCarthy actually mentioned that on Wrestling Daily, and I was just like, oh my God, the promos. A couple of that I didn't mention on Wrestling Daily, or I didn't mention in my article. Eddie Kingston and CM Punk on the mic. And one that Alex also mentioned that I really, really love is CM Punk has versed a number of people in AEW in his time in WWE and ROH. He's versed the likes of Colt Cabana, Christopher Daniels in ROH. He's versed the likes of Chris Jericho and Cody in WWE.
By the way, you said Colt Cabana. That'll be interesting.
It would be interesting, especially for what's happened in real life between those two, which we'll get into before we move on from CM Punk. But he's also versed a certain Shield member during his time in WWE, Dean Ambrose. But he's never versed Jon Moxley. And I think that this would be a clash of ideologies, because both guys left the imprisonment, which they both described as a prison of WWE. One left the business completely and fell out of love with the business. For 7 years, he stayed away, while the other jumped and made AEW more viable and a bigger name in the wrestling industry, to the point that AEW now has the opportunity to sign someone as big as CM Punk. So Moxley can say, you fell out of love with the business while my love continued and I made AEW something. While CM Punk can come back at Jon Moxley and say, well, I'm the guy that gave you the opportunity to be on the main stage. I came up with the idea for the Shield. If it wasn't for me, you would have never been the star that you became. So and you can just imagine 2 of the best promos in the game. Yeah. Those 2 going back and forth would be amazing. Of course, my number 1, it's no surprise what my number 1 was on Sportskeeda, what my number 1 draft pick was on Wrestling Daily. But of course, the battle of the best in the world. Who's the guy that's been called the best in the world since CM Punk left the business? Kenny, by God, Omega. Kenny Omega and CM Punk, the battle of the best in the world. This is the dream match that CM Punk has continuously said that would bring him back to the business. That would be one match that he would want to come back to the business for. Kenny Omega, no matter what anybody thinks about Kenny Omega, he is a master in match layout. He is a master in leading in a match, and he can do any type of style. So if CM Punk wants to have a brawl, Kenny Omega can have a brawl. You saw that at Slammiversary over the weekend against Sami Callihan. You saw that against Jon Moxley in their matches in AEW. He can have the 60-minute classics. You saw that with Kazuchika Okada. You've seen 30-minute, 40-minute matches with Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi, Tomohiro Ishii. So he can have the long, story-driven drama of a long championship match, and he can have a goddamn sprint, a 15, 20-minute all-action sprint like we saw with Hangman Page at Full Gear. So no matter what CM Punk we get in the ring, the person that I'm most confident will get a great match out of him is Kenny, by God, the belt collector, the cleaner, Omega. So there is so many possibilities to talk about with this one. We got in the live chat here, Mixed Partial Farts joining us, saying it's definitely going to be Bryan or Punk announced next week, I think. Interesting to note, Bryan and Punk are good friends in real life, so maybe they both are coming together, basically. I mean, it's not something that we can deny, so it would be very interesting. It's the fact that two of the biggest names of the ROH era, like the two pioneers of Ring of Honor, coming into AEW, and two guys that weren't supposed to be top guys in WWE. It says a lot that these are the two names. Do you think, before we get to the rest of your live chat comments, keep coming them in to guarantee that we put them on screen? Just a $1 or more donation, we definitely appreciate it. It helps us out a lot with the super chats. If you could provide that, we would definitely highlight your comment. We got a bunch of great comments here in the live chat, a lot of people joining us, but we want to, highlight as many as possible. But to confirm, to guarantee that we highlight your comment, you could provide a dollar or more donation through super chat. But Romeo, I want to ask you, I saw people, I put on Twitter my tweet, which got a lot of traction, got like 200 likes, a lot of different comments, a lot of different retweets, that if CM Punk and Daniel Bryan go to AEW, the tide would change. And I had a lot of people, come back at me and say that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are not that big of stars. What do you think will be? Do you think they're big stars or would be big stars for All Elite Wrestling? And what would you think is the impact or the boost they would have to business for AEW?
They are big stars. They will help out the company tremendously as far as ratings go. I mean, that's gonna be a long-term thing for AEW. That has to be good storytelling, good feuds. You got to keep on that path. These guys, like, AEW isn't going to start doing 1.9s, like Raw. But Raw's cheating. They got their part-timer big stars coming back. If Raw, when all that's done with, and if they just go back to the regular Raw roster, you saw that shit was plummeting to a record low 1.4. And at AEW's best, they were doing 1 million last week. We'll see what the rating is for last night. But yeah, you look at that. If Raw keeps going down this downward path, AEW's going up, So yeah, it is possible that AEW can catch WWE, but it's not gonna be overnight.
No, and it's something that Brian Alvarez kind of mentioned on Wrestling Observer Live, that anytime in business, with WCW, with Nitro, they had a slow and steady trajectory. They had to bring in talent like Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage before they started Nitro, and then they brought in, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and the quality of NWO storyline. They had a slow and steady trajectory up. Then, WWF being behind, getting beat 83 weeks. They had Stone Cold and Bret Hart feud. Then they had the angle with Stone Cold and Mike Tyson, and then Stone Cold winning the WWF championship. It was an immediate boost. It was a slow and steady trajectory up to where they got. So AEW bringing in CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and Bryan Danielson is not going to mean that they get 2 million viewers on the first week that they have both guys. No, we're not saying that. But these two guys coming in will bring back a lot of hardcore wrestling fans that have dropped off of wrestling completely in the last 7 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 4 years, in the last 3 years, in the last 2 years. There's been a lot of hardcore wrestling fans that have dropped off, that have stopped watching, that if you say CM Punk is back on professional wrestling, they will come back. And it will be up to AEW to provide good content, good storytelling, future stars for a slow and steady trajectory up. And if they continue on that slow and steady trajectory up with the way things are going in WWE, they are going to intersect at one point. It's just how mathematics and the ratings work. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to be a slow and steady trajectory, in my opinion. Negro Buck Nick Jackson saying the promos between Punk and MJF would be worth the price of admission alone. Definitely agree with you there. We got a couple.
AEW's got to keep building their young stars, which they're doing a good job of.
Yeah.
Once those stars become stars, then bam.
We brought up two of the future stars they have. Hangman Page, 29 years old, MJF, 25. Darby Allin's in main eventing, and he's proven to be a needle mover who's only 28. Jungle Boy's about 24 years old. The future of AEW is very bright. They have about 5 to 6 stars that are 29 years and younger, and that are either primed to be main eventers or are already main eventers. So their future is a lot more brighter than a WWE. And I'm not saying, WWE doesn't give opportunity to new stars. They do. You saw it on Sunday with Money in the Bank, with Nikki Ash and Big E winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they will, Nikki Ash already becoming the Raw Women's Champion, Big E on his way to WWE or Universal Gold. But Big E is 35 years old. If they would have done this 5 years ago, we could say Big E is a long-term guy. And I'm not saying that Big E.
When is the last time WWE trusted someone under the age of 30?
It's been a while. I think the last time is Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins. I think Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. The Shield is the last time they trusted someone under 30 to be a star and build around them. And it's quite sad that that's a fact. We got MW Network. Thank you, good brother, for joining us, saying guarantee Punk and Danielson will make their impact in AEW by the end of 2021. If anything, early 2022. This new era of pro wrestling talent like Punk and Danielson want to end their career on their own terms. It's very true. It's very true. We got Mixed Partial Fart saying, I agree, SP3, Punk and Mox would be awesome. He says, especially with the history between them.
Right. He wanted him the Shield, or no? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He did want him in the Shield. Yeah, he did want him in the Shield. So he's the one that gave him the opportunity to be up there. John Elite saying, I love to see Bryan versus Omega. Oh, we're going to get to Daniel Bryan because the Daniel Bryan news is arguably more juicy than CM Punk. CM Punk is just in talks from the report with AEW to return. Daniel Bryan's news is more it seems emphatic. Yeah, more emphatic than the CM Punk news. Mixed Partial Fart saying Omega versus Bryan first, then eventually Omega versus Punk. Yep. We also got CM saying Kenny has to beat Punk to prove he's worthy of
that CM stand for?
Chick Magnet. Chick Magnet Punk. We got Bill's Mafia STF saying it was a live event announcement for next week that was teased. Yeah, it wasn't anything about any signings or anything like that. And I think it's better off for AEW to kind of, even though there are reports out there, keep it as a surprise to television. Don't announce it. Don't say
plenty of people still have their doubts.
Exactly. Don't say that it's believe it. Don't say that it's the biggest signing you've ever made, even though either one of these would be the biggest signing you ever made, unlike Christian Cage. And I'm a Christian fan, but that did not live up to the anticipation of the biggest signing.
I still got to go with Chris Jericho, just the way he started it,
I agree.
He's the first.
I agree, because if it wasn't for Jericho, I don't think AEW would be viewed as a competitor for WWE. We got Negro Buck saying, wouldn't mind an eventual match between Bryan and Punk again. All the history between them, and the story writes itself.
He stole my thunder. The Negro Buck. He stole my thunder. I was like, yeah, they gotta face each other again. Hello, of course, they're their dream opponents again. Why not? But I got something else for you. I got something else for you, Negro Buck, that I don't think you see coming. Stay tuned.
There you go. MW Network saying Bullet Club, New Japan invasion pending, will root from the IWGP US title, Hikuleo, Tamatanga, Fale. Amazing how so many storylines, debuts, and invasions are in works with this Forbidden Door being wide open. And Carnage Payne saying definitely agreed, Romeo, definitely not overnight. I don't think anyone's saying it's going to be overnight. And no one said this, Carnage Payne. You said absolutely not. They are big names, but it wouldn't change the tide. And WWE doesn't make stars now, but they sell you on brand. And on that level, AEW is almost a decade behind in marketing and worldwide. I never said they were going to be competition for them marketing worldwide. This is going to be a boost for their ratings. There's going to be a boost for their buy rates, but they are light years, very, 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 very long way from being anything comparable in marketing or in money or in profits to WWE. I'm not saying that at all, but we have specified we are talking about in ratings, in buy rates, and attracting more eyes back into wrestling. AEW has a chance with Bryan and Punk. But let's
get something else to that. Yeah, WWE can make a star. It's just they have tunnel vision.
Yes,
they only want that star to be Roman Reigns. That's it.
Yeah, our good friend Louis Dangor, he's been on True Hill Heat before. He's been on Wrestling Daily with me. He is now the lead WWE writer at Give Me Sports. He put out a tweet that WWE, when you look at the reactions to Edge, Goldberg, and John Cena over the weekend, you understand that WWE made the right decision with booking them for the big matches at SummerSlam. And I disagreed with that because I was like, WWE, that's a self-own for them, because if they actually built new stars and made them, gave them the same push that those guys got in their prime when they were on top, they would get those reactions. Because you look at Roman Reigns, the only guy they have really built up in that time, he gets a superstar reaction, whether it's boos, whether it's cheers. Everyone's making noise when Roman Reigns comes out. So the proof is in the pudding. And if they did that for more talent, they would definitely be out there. One more comment to have here. We got Real Take Sports Talk. Thank you for joining us, saying Raw in 2021 has reminded me a lot of TNA in 2013. A lot of cool talent, but just a mess creatively. I made more of the comparison to Raw in 2021 is more like WCW in 1998, 1999. There's big stars, there's cool young talent, but the creative is just relying too much on the nostalgia more than the stars that are on the rise. And I think that's a big, big issue with them. So
can I go off topic real quick for a second? I mean, WWE has a chance to do something really special here with Big E. And I just really hope they don't mess it up.
Really hope they don't blow this one, because this is a big chance to have a story that's remembered for years to come. So hoping, fingers crossed, they don't ruin it, because Big E deserves all the success in the world. Keep putting those thoughts in the live chat. We're going to get to your guys' comments. Like I said before, to guarantee that we highlight your comment, a super chat donation is definitely appreciated. Super sticker as well, $1 or more. If you can find it in your heart, it helps the channel so much. So we definitely appreciate it. And of course, share this video. And if you're watching, you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. I see a bunch of you guys are watching right now. I see we only got 12, 13 thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up.
Helps out the channel, folks.
It helps out the channel so much. All the ways you can help the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. It's greatly appreciated. Romeo, you got to break the news down for Bryan Danielson locked in for AEW.
Daniel Bryan has reportedly signed with AEW. Cassidy Haynes of BodySlam.net learned from a source that Bryan Danielson is locked in, yes, in quotes, and has signed a contract. Danielson had requests that AEW was able to meet, such as working less dates for comparable money, sweet gig, get it if you can get it. He could still be a family man, which was a really big deal to Bryan personally, and still make that dough. Also a request, the ability to work in Japan. This is major. Major. This was a big deal to Bryan. Bryan he's an artiste. He wants to make masterpieces, create art. And New Japan, you could debate whether New Japan is maybe fell off a bit from what it used to be, but it still has that roster of amazing talent, amazing workers, and that nothing turns on Bryan Danielson more than that.
Feels it in his bones.
And also, he wanted creative input on his character. Who doesn't want that? Get it if you can get it. That's right, brother. You better get it while you can, brother. The tentative plans for Bryan's debut were revealed by Cassidy Haynes. And it's for him to appear when the company makes their debut in New York City on September 22nd at Arthur Ashe Stadium. This will be the biggest AEW attended show to date. It'll be in New York City, the media capital of the world. Arthur Ashe Stadium, you see all those seats. Wow, the plan was to hold off debuting Danielson until after all their plans at All Out were wrapped up and to bring him in after the pay-per-view. However, the recent news of CM Punk, potential AEW debut, may have caused this plan to change. And if you don't know who Cassidy Haynes of BodySlam.net is, I didn't know personally, but Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful has confirmed that Cassidy Haynes does have legit sources within AEW. Take that for what you will.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen bodyslam.net in recent, over the last year and a half. They've reported and had big interviews and reported a couple of different stories, but this is by far the biggest. And if Sean Ross Sapp is, confirming that it is possible, Dave Meltzer as well on Wrestling Observer Radio, he did confirm that he's heard that there is two huge names that AEW is in talks with. And he says that of course, like you said, the deal with New Japan is one of the main reasons why Bryan Danielson would be appearing for AEW. And this puts a stamp, and I'm very happy, Romeo, that later today you guys can join me on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, because I've had debates, full-on almost arguments with Kevin Kellum, who was convinced that WWE and New Japan working together was still possible, even though we've seen AEW really put their dick on the table and say, we got this deal with New Japan. They ain't going nowhere. You see New Japan mixing it up with Impact Wrestling as of late, with Jay White showing up at Slammiversary. You saw last night on Dynamite the IWGP United States Championship being defended in the main event and having a title change there. It is confirmed that AEW has a firm, in place working relationship with New Japan.
You remember that promo that Tony Khan cut on Nick Khan?
Yes.
I don't think he would have ever cut that unless he knew that relationship was going to be strong and continue, because he'd look like an absolute fool if Nick Khan came out and swept the rug under him and all of a sudden WWE and New Japan are in bed together. He would have looked pretty bad.
And it's just, it wouldn't look good for New Japan, because no matter what type of relationship or working partnership that you have with WWE, it's WWE. They're always going to be the dominant. They're always going to wear the pants in that relationship. And, say what you will about the AEW New Japan relationship. I know there are AEW fans that are more interested in New Japan due to the IWGP United States title being on the program, due to Kenta showing up on the program, due to Yuji Nagata showing up on the program. So this brings more eyes to New Japan Strong. This brings more eyes to New Japan World. This is Jon Moxley who when he originally signed with AEW, one of the clauses was you can work in New Japan in Japan, but you couldn't work in New Japan when they have USA dates. He is confirmed as the top headline name on New Japan's first US show in over 18 months on August 14th in Los Angeles at the Torch. That right there was the confirmation, all the confirmation that I needed, honestly, because that right there shows that there is more to this whole relationship, to this whole partnership between AEW and New Japan. So the fact that Bryan Danielson he's wanted to have dream matches all over the world for years. This is something that he's talked about in numerous different interviews before he re-signed with WWE in 2018. And I was under the belief, even yesterday on Wrestling Daily, I was like, if you asked me who is more likely to go to AEW, CM Punk or Bryan Danielson, I would have said CM Punk. But like we are saying with this report, CM Punk is just in talks. Daniel Bryan looks like he is locked in, and it's emphatic that he's going to AEW. And this is just a whirlwind for me, honestly, because it opens up the possibility of so many different dream matches in AEW, in New Japan, in Impact Wrestling. Like, he can go all over the world and he can pick and choose who he wants to verse, who he wants to have a match with. He can pick and choose his character if he wants to be the American Dragon, if he wants to be the best in the world, and he have a feud with Kenny Omega, or he have another feud like Nick Jackson said with CM Punk. There is so many possibilities for Bryan Danielson. I'm so happy for the guy because this is a guy that we know loves professional wrestling. And when he was doing interviews around WrestleMania time with the likes of our good friend Alex McCarthy, he said that when he was at WrestleMania, he felt numb. He felt numb. It was his first time in front of live fans in well over a year, and he felt numb being out there. He didn't feel any type of excitement. He didn't feel any type like he really wanted to be there or that he was in the main event of WrestleMania. He felt numb because he wasn't getting fulfilled artistically. Like you said before, he is an artiste, and AEW gives him the opportunity to kind of make his own path and make his own character. Whatever he wants to be, he can be. Whoever he wants to face, he can face. Tony Khan is more open to those type of ideas from a performer than Vince McMahon. That's just a fact. No matter what you guys feel about Tony Khan, you don't like him for what he does in Fulham, you don't like him for what he does with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The one thing that you can't deny is that Tony Khan is a pro wrestling fan. And he proves that with deals like this, in talks with CM Punk, locking in Bryan Danielson potentially. This is huge. And Romeo, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked with CM Punk. Give us your three dream matches for CM Punk in AEW. And whether you have the graphic or not, I want to hear 3 matches that you have for him in New Japan Pro Wrestling, since this is such a big portion of why he may potentially be going to AEW. And please let us know in the live chat. If you want to have it, make sure it's highlighted. Give us your top 3 matches and opponents for CM Punk or Daniel Bryan in AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. But Romeo, take it away.
Let me also piggyback on what you just said. WWE, I don't think offered much creatively going forward for Daniel Bryan. I mean, he's faced so many guys. WWE is the land of rematches. If he still was to go back to WWE, he'd be putting over and feuding with the Jackson Rikers of the company, I bet.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way. Now, dream opponents for Daniel Bryan. Well, first of all, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are going to absolutely start off with the gatekeeper, Cody Rhodes. Oh, you just signed AEW? Come to me.
His next like full year of storylines are already down pat between Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. Right there, you got it. You're so correct.
Stylistically, moving forward, I would like to see. I don't think their paths crossed in WWE. Bryan versus Pac.
Ooh, that's a juicy one. And we actually just had mixed partial farts. Put that in the live chat. And Omega, Pac, and Moxley, or Penta, or Ray Phoenix. So yeah, Pac versus Bryan Danielson never happened in WWE, and what a freaking match that would be.
Another one for AEW. I mean, MJF, the promos. Again, MJF can talk so much trash. There's a whole list you could say about Daniel Bryan, and MJF would whip it all out, to say the least.
Any dream match. I'm sorry. Anybody comes to WWE, one of their dream matches has to be MJF, and that says a lot. The dude's 25 years old, and he is a dream match for any top big name that comes into AEW. No matter if they're a great talker or not, MJF is going to deliver awesome promos against them.
I'm not going to mention Kenny Omega. That's just obvious. But I'm going to go heel Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan can play the heel.
Yes, he can.
Very effectively. And if he did, I would like to see this match.
Ooh,
babyface Jungle Boy on the rise. Maybe even for a championship down the line. Maybe that's how Jungle Boy gets there. Who knows?
And I know there's going to be a bunch of people that's watching this and like, oh man, I hate the fact they're all talking about AEW. I don't like AEW. But this is the Romeo Report. So it wouldn't be the Romeo Report if we didn't have breaking news, Romeo. We got breaking news.
WWE related?
WWE breaking news, sir.
Let's hear it.
Andrew Zarian of the Madman Podcast, who was the first to report that NXT was moving to Tuesday nights earlier this year, is reporting that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will be at Survivor Series this year, at least according to the plan WWE is working with right now. Many people speculated that WWE could have this year's Survivor Series event be a celebration of The Rock's 25-year career, considering Dwayne made his WWE debut at the 1996 Survivor Series event. Zarian does not know whether or not the event is going to be a celebration of The Rock's career, just that the Hollywood megastar is currently slated to appear at the pay-per-view in November. And
Zarian confirmed where Survivor Series is going to be yet?
Zarian also noted in a separate tweet that Survivor Series is going to take place at Barclays Center in New York City, right in our neck of the woods, Romeo.
What a couple of months is going to be in New York City.
Holy crap. September, we might possibly hear a final countdown at the biggest non-WWE event in 20, 25 years. And we might hear, if you smell what The Rock is cooking in the Barclays
gear.
In the Barclays Center. We got a super chat here. We got to highlight, of course, the Negro Buck showing some love to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. $2 donation. We appreciate it, Negro Buck. Always, you are a supporter. You are a member of the True Hill Heat family. He says top 3 opponents for Bryan in AEW. Since I didn't do this article, I didn't do it on Wrestling Daily, I will give you my 3. And I won't go the obvious route. I won't go with Pac, MJF, Jungle Boy.
I can put The Rock up there.
There you go. My man. He's always on the money. That's why you're the connoisseur reported. I won't give the ones that Romeo give. I will go different route. First, I will say, you gotta have some mix of styles, the styles clash. And I'm gonna go Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix versus Bryan Danielson. I've seen Bryan Danielson against some of the best high flyers in the world, and I think Ray Phoenix is the best high flyer in the world right now. So I would love to see that. Tremendous. That would be tremendous. You already said Cody, so I can't say Cody, but I will go with Cody's current rival, Malachi Black. Another match that we never saw in WWE. Malachi Black versus Bryan Danielson would be technical wrestling masterpiece. They're hard hitting. They got some hard kicks. Them going back and forth, I think, would be great. And I think that Bryan Danielson is very underrated on the mic, and he could carry a program and bring it, some levity to the over-the-top dark side persona that Malachi Black is going for. So I think they would mix it up very well.
Very underrated. He has gotten better over the years.
He really has. He really has. I would say he was in the top 5, top 10 talkers in WWE before he made his departure. And then
All because
finally,
The Miz started it. The Miz tutored him from the beginning.
there you go. There you go. Finally,
Just kidding, guys. Relax.
finally, I'm going to go a little different because I think that Bryan Danielson is very underrated for his ability to work comedy matches. And I don't think there's anyone who gives a better comedy match in AEW than Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy versus Bryan Danielson, I think would be it. I think you would see the joy on Bryan Danielson's face.
Daniel Bryan can do comedy with the best of them.
He could do comedy with the best of them. He's done it with Colt Cabana many different times in Ring of Honor. He's mixed it up with R-Truth. He's done funny matches in WWE, Saturday Night Slam, that old show. He was one of the highlights with this comedy, him and Kane, the Hug It Out segments. Like, come on. Bryan Danielson is so underrated as a comedy guy that I think that he would be gold against Orange Cassidy. So those are the three that
How about this guy last night with Orange Cassidy?
That was great. That was a lot of fun. Oh my God. That was one of the best moments of Dynamite, in my opinion. Just Sting having one hell of a time and just playing into the whole Orange Cassidy gimmick was just wonderful. Negro Buck actually gives his top 3. He says Jungle Boy, MJF, and Penta. I like the Penta one. That Penta versus Bryan Danielson would be a whole lot of fun. John Elite saying AEW, Omega versus Bryan, Bryan versus MJF, Bryan versus Archer is not one I thought of. That would be really good. New Japan, he says Bryan versus Ibushi, Bryan versus Okada, Bryan versus Jay White. Romeo, let's hear your 3 with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Open the forbidden door. The
door's open.
The American Dragons going through the forbidden door. Who you got?
Man, so many options. Jeez. Let me start with Goat Kata. Yes. Just be careful with the tombstone.
Please. No twisting tombstones, Okada, but a long, drawn-out match between Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada. It's been a while since Daniel Bryan went 60 minutes. He could go 60 minutes with Kazuchika Okada.
Will Ospreay.
Oh man, like Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. That's at the top of my list as well, man. That would be a work of art, especially the new Will Ospreay, who could do the hard hitting stuff. He could do a little bit of his high flying, and he could get technical. Oh man, that would be beautiful. Awesome stuff. Who's your last one?
Zack Sabre Jr.
If you didn't say that one, that was going to be my first. That was going to be my first, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the 2 greatest technical wrestlers of the past 2 decades. Bryan Danielson won 8-9 straight Best Technical Wrestler of the Year awards for Wrestling Observer, and in the past 5 to 6 years, Zack Sabre Jr. has won the Best Technical Wrestler. So this is the Bryan Danielson Zack Sabre Jr. award, and those 2 going at it would be probably the greatest technical wrestling match of all time.
Man. Go ahead, SP3. You got 3 New Japan names that I haven't mentioned?
Yes. Off the top of my head, I'm going to go with the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Shingo Takagi. Shingo Takagi is the best worker in New Japan Pro Wrestling right now. And I'm only saying that because Will Ospreay is injured right now, but Shingo Takagi has had banger after banger over the last year and a half. He deserved and earned the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. He had a banger against he had the match of the year so far against Will Ospreay at Wrestling Dataku, and him versus Bryan Danielson. Oh my God, how lovely would that be? And I don't think they crossed paths during Shingo's short stint in ROH, but if they did, it's a totally different story 15 years later with these 2 guys being arguably better workers. So it would be great. Next, I got to go with the Murder Grandpa, Minoru Suzuki. Minoru Suzuki versus Bryan Danielson. Oh my god, I literally got goosebumps thinking about it. Oh my god, my hair is standing up on my arm. Minoru Suzuki trying to break Bryan Danielson's neck. Oh my god, I'm grinning ear to ear, and I already seen people in the live chat say Kota Ibushi. Of course, Kota Ibushi is great. Jay White is great. Kota Ibushi and Bryan Danielson, that would be fantastic. They are two of the best workers of all time, in my opinion. They would be great. Jay White, he is 28 years old, probably one of the best heels in the ring right now. I'm trying to think of anybody. A rematch against Kenta would be great. Those two had one of the greatest Ring of Honor matches of all time at Glory by Honor 2006. Yeah, there's a lot of great ones. There's a lot of fantastic matches, but I want psychology. I want storytelling. I want drama. Bryan Danielson versus the Ace. Hiroshi Tanahashi is my third. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Bryan Danielson would be storytelling, masterpiece, drama, psychology, and they would work a match that would be just spellbinding and awe-inspiring, especially in like a Tokyo Dome. Oh my God, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Bryan Danielson. That's my third. So we got a couple here in the live chat, Romeo. We got Nick Jackson saying my top three for Bryan in New Japan: Okada, Ospreay, Shingo. Those are really good ones as well. Frantic World saying he would love Lance Archer versus Daniel Bryan would be good. We also got a couple more here. Nick Jackson talking about my pick. Can't believe I didn't think about that, Sid. Bryan versus Black would be fire. Honest Beyond Reasonable saying a WWE match. He's saying Walter versus Bryan was a top match I wanted to see. I mean, from the reports, it doesn't seem like that's possible anymore. I would have loved to see it myself as well. I'm not gonna deny that at all. Y'all are right too. Bryan cut some great promos during his last WWE title run, says Nick Jackson. Honest Beyond Reasonable saying, see horror on my face and Jim Ross. Nick Jackson saying he also had some good comedy stuff in PWG with Kenny Omega. Yeah, he's definitely right there. I saw a good one a little bit earlier. We got here, Sammy Joe makes a good point. I'll ask you, Romeo. Has Roman's reign really been...
Oh, I see what you did there. Roman's reign? Nice.
Roman's reign. Roman's reign really been that good, or is it just that Roman is just so good that he's compensating for the storytelling?
The storytelling with Roman Reigns has been amazing. It's one of the main reason to tune into SmackDown is everything they've been doing with the Acknowledge Me, Tribal Chief, and then you got The Rock coming at Survivor Series. My goodness, can you imagine what we're in store for here? A little early for me. I'd wish it was WrestleMania, but hey, I'll take it where I could get it.
Absolutely. John Elite naming a good one here. Bryan versus Nagata. And Nagata proves that he can get a banger out every so often, and against Bryan Danielson, I wouldn't knock that or deny that at all. Nick Jackson saying, dude, how did I leave off ZSJ?
What are you doing?
He's like, I'm a huge mark for technical wrestling, and that would be a masterclass, a clinic. That would be a clinic. That was a great pick by Romeo. That's the best one. Yeah.
Can I throw up some wrestlers we didn't mention on the screen, and you tell me who you would want to see them face first, Punk or Bryan?
All right, go. Let's do it.
And this one is an old friend, Chris Jericho.
Ooh, I would say I've seen CM Punk and Chris Jericho
You can do it the reverse way, though.
That is true. You can go babyface Jericho versus heel Punk, and it would be a little different. But I would go with Jericho versus Bryan, because I think that besides his first WWE match on the original NXT, we never really saw that again in a highlight way. We might have saw it on a throwaway episode of Raw and SmackDown. There's a story there to explore that he is the first man that he versed in WWE, and he can get a win back. That would be interesting. I would like that. Ooh, that is a great one. This is I'm gonna have to go the opposite direction on this one because of the similar reason from Jericho. I've seen Bryan versus Andrade. I've seen it in the WWE platform, so it would be different in AEW for sure. They would have more freedom to have their kind of match instead of a WWE match. But I would go CM Punk versus Andrade because I feel like their styles would mesh very well with each other.
I agree.
Oh, oh, like that one. That one. I'm gonna say both. That's what I'm gonna say. Both.
That's not the rules of the game, SP3.
Who you got? Who you gonna say?
I would go CM Punk first. I think their styles would very mesh very good.
They fit each other because they're both anti-heroes. Like Tetsuya Naito is the anti-hero of New Japan Pro Wrestling. CM Punk's been the anti-hero of WWE, and their characters would fit each other very well. So that's a good take. Oh, I really debated putting him on my 3 because on my article on Sportskeeda Wrestling, he was one of the guys that I said against Punk because it would give us a taste of Punk and Hardy. Punk and Hardy is probably one of my favorite CM Punk feuds from his time in WWE, and no one gives me the Jeff Hardy 2008 2009 vibes like Darby Allin. So I would go with Punk.
I agree, CM Punk.
Oh, just cause we could get interplay between the wives, I'm going with Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson versus Miro. I feel like Bryan Danielson fits the role of an underdog against the overpowering Miro.
I'm gonna go CM Punk. If you recall that WrestleMania where Rusev, the former Rusev, made his debut, that's where CM Punk left. So Miro can talk a little shit with that.
You left because of me. You don't want a first God favorite champion. Oh, the stinger. I'm gonna go with CM Punk. CM Punk.
Heel CM Punk, yeah.
Heel of CM Punk versus Sting, I think would be very, very interesting indeed.
I'm gonna go with Daniel Bryan. Fuck it. And CM Punk, Daniel Bryan. I would love for them somehow, some way to face all the great tag teams in AEW. All the great tag teams. They'd need a partner. Why not each other?
Why not each other?
Logan, Bryan Danielson, the tag team.
CM Punk and Bryan Danielson versus the Young Bucks.
Bam.
What a classic that would be. CM Punk and Bryan Danielson versus the Lucha Bros. Oh my God. That would be ridiculous. That would be fantastic. If you want some old school wrestling, CM Punk and Bryan Danielson versus FTR.
These guys are already dreaming about it. They're already dreaming.
Oh my God. What a beauty. Yeah, they were like, hey guys, I know you don't do tag team wrestling, but what if we did this? CM Punk and Bryan Danielson versus our boys from New York City, Santana and Ortiz.
Goddamn right.
Absolutely. I would love me some of that. There is so many possibilities. Jurassic Express, Private Party, the list goes on and on and on. But yeah, those are the four teams that I would say for sure I would want to see. Oh, Mox and Eddie. Yeah. Mox and Eddie. Oh my God. Punk and Bryan versus Mox and Eddie. The promos would be ridiculous.
And I think CM Punk and Daniel Bryan could have fun together. I really think they could.
This would
wanted to do it.
Team best in the world. Hey, they teamed together against the Wyatt family back in the only time, I think. 2013.
2-on-3. That wasn't even fair.
Why not? Why not? We got Slamming Sammy Joe saying, great, love to hear your take. We also got CM saying there's so many great matches that can happen. WWE is going to have to step it up for sure. Nick Jackson saying one I didn't think about that would be a banger, Bryan versus Ishii. I thought about that. I was very close to putting that on my list for sure. Honest Beyond Reasonable with the question, do you think it's wise Tony comes out before shows to wink at fans, this is a show, and talk about non-kayfabe stuff, then lead you to the show? It's sad for young kids that get spoiled so much. It's not sad for young kids. Young kids are still enamored by it and still get into it. Our friend Jonathan, his kid loved going to AEW because although you think he's winking at the fans and saying this is a show, they don't have the same mindset that you have. It's just a different time. It's not 1996 where it was a problem for the clique to go out there and hug each other. It's 2021 and the wrestling landscape is totally different now, in my opinion. What about you, Romeo?
I'm not sure what he means by, weak. From what I understand, Tony Khan just says, "Hey, thank you for coming. Enjoy the show and don't curse."
Yeah.
Like, what does he mean by non-kayfabe stuff before a show?
I think that people have a misconception because they see one thing and then they interpret it a different way than what it really is. That's what I think it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you're wrong for that, but I just think that is a misconception in my opinion. Nick Jackson saying Punk versus Darby, Battle of the Straight Edge. Yes.
Oh, Darby straight edge too?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. It would be very interesting. He has the Jeff Hardy vibe, but he's straight edge like Punk. So a battle of
maybe that's his tag team partner then.
Oh, there you go. The Straight Edge Society. Hey, and Nick Jackson saying Punk and Bryan versus Mox and Eddie. Also, we'll have all three original members of the Straight Edge Society in AEW.
Have a backstage segment. Don't try to remake it. Have a you're here. Oh, you work here. Oh, wow.
I agree. Slam and Sammy Joe says Mox and Eddie versus them could main event a pay-per-view. I agree there. Romeo, is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up this edition of the Romeo Report?
I have 4 more things. We can get through them quickly. The first, what would WWE's counter move be? We already got breaking news of The Rock.
Yes, if you're just joining us right now, we broke the news. Andrew Zarian of the Matman podcast says that WWE has plans set for The Rock to come back at Survivor Series this year, Survivor Series 2021. Huge news. WWE already coming back with a right hand.
This is it. This is the WWE way. Goldberg, you got a 2-match a year contract? What are we doing? Let's make that 22 matches. Brock Lesnar, you don't want to come hang with the big boys? More money for Brock Lesnar. More. Give him more. Alberto Del Rio, fuck yeah, we'll have you back. Come on down.
I don't know if they want to do that after the heat we got for our interview.
Trish Stratus, Trish, you got one more run in you. Come on, Trish, come on. Undertaker, the last ride. Didn't you say you would break the glass in case of an emergency? Emergency.
It seems like they're getting revved up. Jerry and saying Rock versus Roman. It seems like they are building towards that for sure. So,
what else has to be three with WWE Panic Book? Anything off the top of your head?
Brock and Lashley is one that they can break the glass for. Yeah, for sure. Trying to think of any other stars. Hey, the Undertaker's retirement wasn't set in stone.
No, he said if Vince needs me, I'll be there. So, hey, I'm just saying. Another thing I wanted to bring up, AEW loves taking shots at WWE. The fans eat it up. They love it. Can you imagine a modern day pipe bomb promo from CM Punk on WWE? If you give him a live mic and you just say, go ahead. Say what you want to say about the other company.
Go for it. How you feel 7 years later, Mr. Punk? We got Slim and Sammy Joe saying Punk versus Black is a really big one I want to see. For Brian, I say Jungle Boy would be one I want to see the most. I dig both of those. Those are very good options. We also got Nick Jackson saying one match that I think would be good, Brian versus Goto. Goto is really underrated performer. All bunch of great matches. Anything else, Romeo?
2 more things. One, this is just for fun. With CM Punk possibly coming back. Is there a chance? Maybe. Some people have speculated. One more run?
I would love to see it. Wouldn't that revitalize the women's division? Because the women's division have seen highs and lows in AEW. Like they were at a low a couple of months ago. We did a whole episode of True Hill Heat on why AEW doesn't focus more on the women's division. Then it was on the rise back up after the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match and the stuff they were doing prior to Double or Nothing. And now it's been slowly but surely going back down to where it was over the last couple of weeks, especially being back on the road, like one match per show per se. But AJ Lee coming in, AJ Lee versus Britt Baker, AJ Lee versus Thunder Rosa, AJ Lee versus Tay Conti, AJ Lee versus Serena Deeb. The story there?
Yes, that's right. People love AJ Lee. She's so over. She'd be great. She'd be great. And another thing, first I want to confirm the Dynamite after All Out. Where is that?
It's in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati?
Yeah.
So the Dynamite before that is where?
In Chicago.
Oh,
I think I agree with Dave Meltzer as well as Sean Ross Sapp. They both think that Punk should debut on the Dynamite before All Out. Since it's in Chicago, you're going to get the Chicago pop, and it would lead people to order All Out to see him there. I think that would be the best business decision for AEW.
And that's what I was going to bring up. I 100% agree for one sole reason. And that's, well, it depends. If Hangman Page is going to have his moment at All Out, let him have his moment.
Yeah.
Because CM Punk will destroy the internet. He will grandstand and upstage. Nobody's going to be talking about Hangman Page. Nobody. They're going to be talking CM Punk. But if the plan is for, let's say, Hangman not to win yet, and Omega, I guess, maybe wins or cheats or some funny business, then maybe have CM Punk come out and avenge the day, something like that. I guess. But yeah, what do you think on that? If Hangman Page wins, do you still have CM Punk come out, or would you rather separate the two?
I'd rather separate the two. I think it's wise to have him come out in Chicago at Dynamite, because not only would it help out, All Out buy rate, it could help out Rampage. You could be like, oh, is CM Punk gonna show up on Rampage on Friday night as well? Or even have him come out and debut at Rampage the day before, the 2 days before All Out, instead of on Dynamite, which is gonna have a lot of eyes. Have him come out on the show that might not get a lot of eyes on it at 10 p.m. on a Friday. That's a tough sell for a lot of people, but if CM Punk shows up out of nowhere, I guarantee you the following week's ratings for Rampage, they will have that level of anything can happen and people will watch it.
That's all for me, SP3. Everyone go and like and retweet this tweet. Maybe CM Punk will give us the scoop if we just put the effort in all together. We put the pressure on him.
Put the pressure on CM Punk. We got Jerry saying CM Punk versus Kenny Omega. For sure, keep on putting those in the live chat, in the comment section below. If you're watching this on demand, let us know what your CM Punk, Bryan Danielson dream matches in AEW, in New Japan. Even if you got some Impact fans, tell us what your dream matches. The forbidden door is wide open, so there's anything is possible for Punk and Bryan in AEW. Slamming Sammy Joe saying that would be huge for AEW. She might be bigger than Punk in developing the brand that is AEW. Overall, she might have a bigger impact. That might be right. Long term, I think that she could do a lot for their women's division. AJ Lee, he's referring to. John Elite saying AJ Lee versus Sheeta would be his dream match. Sanjarian, I think that's how you say it. Sanjarine, excuse me. Bryan in Queens and Punk in Chicago. I like it.
What's up, Mike? That's my cousin.
Oh, nice. What's up, cousin Mike? Slamming Sammy Joe saying Kenny wins, but Hangman kicks out of the One Ring Angel. We will talk about that. We will talk about that for sure on AE Recap this week. I'll be on with Jimmy Macaram and Marcus Cash. Like I said before, that video is going to drop on Sunday. We're also going to go live on Saturday, True Hill Heat 135. It will be myself, Top Guy JJ, returning after having last week off, and Chrissy Love will be off, but we have some big shoes to fill, but it's going to be filled by Samira of SE Scoops, a great interviewer, great content creator. She has her own YouTube channel right now with interviews with Calvin Tankman as well as Myron Reed of MLW. She's going to be joining us on True Hill Heat 135. 135. So come join us on Saturday morning. We'll keep you updated on our social media at True Hill Heat on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook on what time exactly True Hill Heat 135. But join us because we're going to be talking about CM Punk. We're going to be talking about Bryan Danielson. We're going to talk about Dynamite, WWE, NXT, The Rock at Survivor Series, and whatever else breaking news happens today, Friday, and even Saturday morning. You never know. It always happens like that. If you're watching if you're watching us live, drop this video a thumbs up. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. One more comment, couple more comments here. Jerry and saying Vince releasing stars from WWE? ? Oh, he's saving money so he can buy AEW later. And Nick Jackson saying makes a lot of sense for Punk to debut before All Out in order to boost buys and not take away from Hangman's big moment. Totally agree with you there. Romeo, what you got going on that's already up on the channel and coming up this week?
You can find me, The Pride of NY, on Twitter and Instagram. And on the channel, check out the Rated Raw Superstars, number 10, cashing in. Check out, if you really hate me, this is a great episode to watch. As you enjoy my misery from Nikki Ash cashing in on Charlotte Flair. Check out 24 Hours in the Life of a Charlotte Fan. Yeah, we put the two reactions together. The high for Money in the Bank to the low Raw. Check out NX3. This should be up later today. Do you know what time
Yes.
is NX3?
I would say that's going to be up at 6 p.m. today.
All right.
6 p.m.
Go to me, Chris, and Ness. Talk about NXT from this past week. Coming up on Monday, we'll have another new True Rewind, number 48, Hot Coffee, WCW versus WWF. You don't want to miss it. And also check out the boys. I'm going to be helping them out later on tonight. If you like Impact Wrestling, watch Impact. And they'll be going live with Blunt Impact, Chris G and Ness. Check that out.
Yes, our first time going live immediately following Impact on Access TV. No other YouTube channel, major YouTube channel in wrestling, YouTube, goes live following Impact Wrestling. So we will be the first, and we will make it an ongoing thing if you show your support. So join us immediately after Impact Wrestling. If you're a fan of Impact, if you're not, this is the post Slammiversary episode, post Switchblade Jay White showing up at Slammiversary. So a lot to unpack. He's going to be on the show. Mickey James is going to be on the show. So this is a noteworthy Impact Wrestling for sure. So join us live following Impact Wrestling tonight.
I forgot to mention that we go live after Raw every single Monday. Rated Raw Superstars. Check that out.
Yes, we go live following Raw, live following Impact Wrestling. Our AEW Dynamite Fighter Fest Night 2 review for AE Recap will be on Sunday. It's going to drop. We're going to record that over the weekend, and it's going to drop on Sunday. Of course, if you want to follow me, anything that I do on True Hill Heat, any writing I do for Sportskeeda Wrestling, any video work for Sportskeeda or for Wrestling Daily, you can follow me at True Hill SP3. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified. We're going to go live later today with Impact Wrestling. We're going to go live on Saturday, True Hill Heat 135. We're going to have a whole bunch of great content in between Dark Power, NX3, Rated Raw Superstars. Check out our Money in the Bank roundtable review. That great one. They did so much. That was such a great time. Such a great review of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. The Slammiversary roundtable review. There's so much.
The most entertaining roundtable reviews there are on YouTube. Check them out. Every pay-per-view.
And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like this video, share this video, comment down below with your dream matches for Punk and Bryan in AEW New Japan. Push the subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified. Romeo, take us out.
All right, for SP3, I am Romeo. We thank you for joining us on this Romeo Report number 9. We'll see you next time. Whenever there is huge, major news, I will be there reporting on it. And SP3 just might join me. We thank you for watching the Romeo Report. See ya.